Okay, to start, thank you so much, Elder, for organizing this amazing festival. And thank you so much for all the people that came. You already gave a brilliant start, a brilliant lecture. Not lecture, but
Introduction.
an introduction, yes, to the festival. So I'm not going to do that. So, with us today, we have a special guest. All guests are special.
He's very special.
Oh.
And for what I know, he's also the organizer of the sibling, if I may say so, of this festival in Austria. So, first of all, who are you?
Well, my name is Raphael. I am from Austria originally. I grew up in a couple of different countries because as a family we moved quite a bit around because my father was a chef and he specialized in vegan foods. And so I basically grew up with vegan foods. And a lot of stuff happened, and then I became raw vegan, and suddenly I'm doing a similar thing to my father, traveling a lot and showing people about healthy food. So that's kind of very, very shortly in a nutshell my background.
So you already grew up eating vegan?
Yes, I grew up eating vegan. I mean, maybe like the first 2 or 3 years, my parents were still transitioning into complete vegan foods. But by the time I was like 5 or 6 years old, they were completely vegan. That's like the end of the 80s. And and then later on, when I left home, I went back to vegetarianism for a while, for a couple of years. Ate a lot of cheese. And yes, in my life I did eat some meat as well, but maybe like a dozen times or so in my life. And then through a girlfriend that I had that was vegan because of the animals, I came back to veganism. And some years after that, my mother was actually visiting Portugal and visiting Ershi and Lota, and started with raw veganism. And me and my siblings were like, "Oh, Mom, what are you doing? This can't be good." But then 1.5 years later or so, I was curious enough to try for myself. And I've not looked back since. And that's now 8.5 years ago,
8.5,
So
that's almost a decade.
Almost a decade, yeah. Almost, yeah.
So there were no health issues that made you turn into raw?
No, actually, it was pure curiosity. My profession is is engineer. Yeah, I'm an automotive engineer. I help cars get less harmful for the environment. I work with Audi there, so I've always been a very inquisitive kind of person. I wanted to know how things work. And also I'm a bit of a purist. I like mechanics, I like physics, I like when stuff actually works and when it's like pure, like a sailing boat or like a gliding aeroplane or things like that. For example, I also have a cargo bike at home, because it's a simple thing that does a job very well. And because it obeys the laws of physics very well. And I really like this lifestyle because it works really well and it's close to the original kind of principles in like physical, biological, chemical principles.
Yes.
That are already there, yeah.
So basically you're looking at the human body as a vehicle, which it is, a vehicle for our soul. And you're trying to see what's the best fuel. so it's the most efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, there was a couple of things that really made sense. So when my mother started eating lots of fruits, I was kind of like intrigued, but also motivated enough to change my breakfast from quite a lot of fruits with some muesli to just fruits over some time, over a couple of months, and that was very enjoyable to just eat fruits, and I could see that it actually works. And when I committed to trying this out more in depth, that's when I started writing down what I did. Like every day, I wanted to know. I wanted to do this as empirically as possible.
Okay.
Because,
Like an experience.
yeah, like an experiment. Because growing up with the vegan lifestyle with my parents, a lot in this vegan and health as a healthy lifestyle movement, I knew that there was quite a lot of romanticism in these kind of health food movements. Yeah, that there's lots of people who talk a lot about emotions and who talk a lot about, yeah, but it's so pretty or whatever, some kind of argument that has to do with emotions. And after a year or two, they do something completely different because their basis was just not very empirical. And so to me, it was very important to write down stuff, because even though I also enjoy emotions and you know the beauty of the food, but I want more than just that. So that was important to me to write it down, and it helped. Like for the first 3 or 4 years, I wrote down every day what I ate and how much I exercised, and if there was any disruption with my sleep, or you know all the kind of stuff that
Right.
makes an impact maybe even the next day or maybe 2 days afterwards. And then you're like, oh, I'm not feeling so well today. Why? You know, oh, it must be the last meal. Maybe it's not the last meal. Maybe it's the meals, you know, like 2-3 meals ago. So
you were tracking your food and also your exercise, the way you think also, you know,
not so much, but
Yeah.
yes, it's
Our-
relevant as well.
because our emotions can also bring us down, you know,
Yeah.
or up. So, and growing up in Austria, which is a cold country most of the year, you know, getting enough ripe fruits, it's a challenge. I think so.
Well, in our capitalist world these days, it is quite easy to bring all kinds of fruits to all kinds of places. What you say is definitely true for example, my grandparents growing up in Austria. But for me, growing up in Austria, I grew up with an abundance of bananas, for example. There was never a shortage of bananas of any kind that I can remember. And banana, lest we forget, is a tropical fruit, you know. It's not something that grows in Austria, that's for sure. So what is really fascinating to me, that even in the cheaper stores in Austria, in Germany, in many places around the world, especially in the Western world, the food keeps getting better. You keep getting more and more variety offered, even during the winter. For example, for the last 5 or 6 years, we even get grapes all through winter, you know, like even the cheapest stores, they find them from South America or South Africa. And we can have grapes all winter next to other things.
Yes.
Yeah, so it has been getting a lot better.
I know some people in the health movement who are not raw, and they try to. They say that eating locally it's best, you know? And I also believe it's best. But if it's not our food, it's best we import it. You know? So, what do you think about that? Do you have any concerns of the ecological footprints of eating imported fruits?
This is a very interesting and very relevant question, especially for our times. If I think, for example, about Eskimos or people who live like in Greenland or north of Norway or things like that, places like that, for at least half, if not 3/4 of the year, the only local food that they have is fish. And maybe maybe stuff that they've harvested half a year ago or like 3/4 of a year ago, like some kind of roots or grains, potatoes maybe. That is food that we humans can survive on, but we will not thrive on. Yeah? Eskimos are known for a relatively short lifespan as a life expectancy. In the health food movement, the question that we ask is not only to avoid stuff that doesn't make me sick, but we want more. We want to build health, and we want to try to find the things that make health even better. And the other thing that I find is that, especially from my work as an engineer, we have a lot of these questions about ecological footprint. And the interesting thing is that even with the metrics that are used, which can be discussed, and I have also some ideas about that, but even with the metrics that are used, if you compare your flight mango, let's say, one of the most CO2 intensive foods that you can have, a mango that has to be picked fairly close to ripeness, so it has to be wrapped quite a lot, which also causes extra footprint, and then brought with an aeroplane. Even a flight mango has overall quite a considerably smaller footprint than beef grown locally. Yeah, because the beef takes a lot more water, a lot more land, a lot more feed for the animal, and then
Which comes from abroad mostly.
even if it doesn't, it's a big footprint that needs to be considered before it actually comes to the customer. So I don't have any kind of guilt buying flight mangoes, and it's quite interesting. I mean, any of you can also go to myworldindata.org. myworldindata.org, a very good site, for example, also for schools. And they also have some charts about these footprints of different food types.
Okay.
And you have to read a little bit more closely, because there's some food types that also say that, if there is like additional trees planted for that food, then the footprint is even negative. So for some walnuts, for example, they say, if the demand for walnuts is more than there is walnut trees in the world, then additional trees get planted, and so the footprint is actually negative. But when we eat mostly fruit, that's true for almost anything that we eat. And we definitely contribute to increasing the demand for fruit, right? And therefore for potentially more trees being planted. So I don't really have a bad conscience about getting my mangoes from an aeroplane.
And by the way, do you know if the mangoes, for example, or the bananas, they travel in commercial planes or in their specific plane?
I don't know, but I would guess that they do both. I would guess that
if it were on a commercial plane, the footprint would be even less. Or else people would stop traveling.
I guess the footprint of the aeroplane is pretty much the same, regardless if there's people or fruit on the plane. It goes by weight and not necessarily by volume or other things. So I guess the footprint is the same. and it is quite big. Apparently, all the aeroplanes that we have on this planet flying, which is a lot, causes about 2% of the global footprint, which is
Okay.
about the same as the whole country of Germany, with everything. Or all private cars everywhere on this planet is about the same kind of footprint.
Okay.
No, all transport, so cars and trucks. But the thing is, in this global footprint, there's a lot we can talk about footprint. Maybe not the topic of this interview, but footprint is not calculated with the army and is not calculated with the stuff that gets destroyed in wars.
Yeah, that's a whole another subject.
And that is huge, you know. So even if we just eat more fruits, be less aggressive, because that's also part of this lifestyle, as many of you have experienced, we also contribute in a very small way, but significantly, to a little bit less footprint, because there's a lot to be said about planting trees instead of bombing down other houses.
Yeah. That's true. Regarding eating raw the whole day, I don't know if you work at home, if you have to travel a bit. This lifestyle, at least for me, I notice that I go to the bathroom more often. So eating a lot of watery fruits, you know, this lifestyle, we eat a lot of water, so it has to go out also. Is that a challenge for you with your work? Because some people told me, oh, you eat like that because you work at home and it's easier.
Yeah, no, I don't work at home. But I can say that for the first maybe 3, 4, 5 months, I needed to pee a little bit more often. But other than that, no, I don't really have any kind of issues. I mean, I work in an office, yeah, so it's not that hard for me to go to the toilet at work. It might be different for other people who can't do that so easily or whatever, I don't know. But the only challenge for me was in the first couple of months, and only for peeing. Yeah. Other than that, I don't have any issues. And as for preparing, because that was also kind of like a part of the question. Yes, especially when I compare myself to my colleagues, I can see that in my day there is more time used up for preparing food. They don't really prepare any kind of food in their lives. Yeah. In the morning they only have a coffee, and then at lunchtime they go to the canteen, and in the evening maybe they take some bread and some cheese and some sausage, and that was it.
Okay.
So they have a prep time in the whole day of maybe just for the evening for 10 minutes and maybe 2 minutes for making coffee in the morning. So for me, it's maybe for breakfast I need maybe 10 minutes or so to prepare, depending, like go through my fruit, take some ripe fruit. For lunchtime, I need to think a little bit more, because I need to take ripe fruit with me to work, so it needs to travel without collapsing.
Yeah, and you have to think the week prior, not to buy the fruits in a ripe stage that you know that it will be good next week. So it's a challenge to keep our kitchen well organized with ripe fruit every day. You know?
Yes, I mean, I don't think a week ahead, like at lunchtime next Wednesday, what I'm gonna have. I don't do that. But what I do is that I have very good relationship to my fruit dealer, like I like to call him, the guy who sells me fruit. He's from a specialist fruit and vegetable shop in the next village. Also very cool that I met him this way. Also, I met him through friends actually, who said, "Oh, you really should meet this guy," and they were right. But basically, I know when he goes to the big market, 3 times a week he does that, and then I just write him on Telegram, what is ripe right now. You know, sometimes I already know, and I just write, okay, I want 1 box of that, 1 box of that, 1 box of that, 1 box of that. I usually buy like once a week for the big stuff, and then he gets me the stuff, and the next day I go to him and pick up the boxes and then bring them home. And then for some things, I wait almost a week until it's ripe. For some things that are ripe basically straight away. And so every day I basically choose, okay, that's the ripe stuff that needs to go now. So that's going to be my lunch today. So I don't plan like a whole week in advance. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you grew up vegan. And you decided as a curiosity to try raw food. And since then you never went back. And what made you not went back, not go back? Do you enjoy? Is there any cooked foods that you enjoy? And do you? Sorry, these are
a couple of questions. Yeah.
It's a couple of questions trying to put it into one. Do you force yourself not to eat cooked food? Is it something natural to you not to eat it? What made you not go back to normal veganism?
Yeah, so when I discovered the raw food, this so-called 80-10-10 raw food lifestyle, I was curious to try it out empirically for myself to know for sure that it works also for me with this machine. So that's why I wrote all the stuff down all the time. That's why I read 2 different books, the book on 80-10-10 actually called 80-10-10 and the book The China Study. It's not actually about raw food, but it's like a study, like a scientific book. And those kind of books really gave me like a very good objective basis. And that was enough motivation for me to say, okay, if I want to try this out to know for myself if it's true, then I need to do it 100%. And I do it really properly. And I learned as well that it takes about 6 months for the gut bacteria to completely adapt to this lifestyle. It already adapts quite quickly, like with even 1 or 2 meals, a little bit. But to adapt like completely, it takes about 6 months. So initially, that was my first goal, to really do it 6 months. And for those 6 months, I really had to push myself a little bit. I had to be consequent with myself. I had to say, I need to try this, I want to try this. And I did, and it was the summer part of the year, so it was easier with more fruits and more ripe fruits and more easily available ripe fruits. So that was good. But over time, I noticed that my taste also changes, and I enjoy fruit much more. And suddenly, even a leaf of lettuce actually tastes good to me. That was not the case before. Like before, a leaf of iceberg lettuce just tasted like water. It didn't taste like anything.
Yeah, you had to put some salt, right?
Or whatever, something. But now, sometimes I actually quite like iceberg lettuce just on its own, not as a complete meal because it doesn't satisfy, it doesn't have much calories, but as a snack, you know, it's just nice and crunchy. And like today with the burger, it was amazing. So over time, and in the first 2, 3, 4 years, I did make a couple of exceptions when people invited me or whatever, and I would not be 100% committed because I didn't want to slave myself. Yeah, I still wanted to enjoy this and not have as a develop some kind of negative
Yes.
relationship to food. It's not very
You still do that
recommended.
today?
Today I don't need to do that because after a while, like 3-4 years, I noticed that actually I don't need that anymore. I prefer to just tell the people if they invite me, can you just get me some ripe fruits? I don't need more than that, just ripe fruits. And it usually works quite well. And when I now make salad for myself or evening foods, something similar to what we had today or a little bit more simple, I appreciate that it actually tastes better to me than the stuff that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with very high quality vegan food, my father being a chef. So I always had a spoiled tongue. But over the last years, learning how to make really good salad sauces out of very different ingredients, it's like a huge variety that I'm suddenly able to draw from. And now the food just tastes a lot better when it's not cooked. When it is cooked, it smells better. But with raw food, it tastes better and it's more satisfying. And so sometimes when there is other people cooking high quality food, vegan food, I do enjoy the smell. But after these 8.5 years, I'm content to just smell it and be done, because I know that if I would eat this food, the first taste, the first like spoonful or so would be quite impressive, especially with the salt. Like very strong, good flavor. But even the second and third and fourth spoon would not be so intense anymore. And by the time I finished the meal, I would be like, yeah, it was probably not worth it, making that exception for that kind of meal.
Yes.
But with raw food, I usually have the opposite experience. Quite often with a raw dish, even one that I make myself for myself, I would taste it and the first spoon would be like, yeah, I can eat that. But the second spoon would taste better than the first spoon, and I would realize that my tongue would like pick up like smaller nuances of taste that it didn't before, like with the first go. And by the time I finished the food, it would be like, wow, that was actually pretty good. I need to remember that combination because I'm gonna do that again. So it's a different approach to what taste is like. With the cooked food is usually fewer tastes but stronger, and with the raw food is more taste, more different flavors and subtle nuances, but just more of them. I hope I answered everything.
Yeah. Sure. But there's still more. Yeah.
No, of that complicated question.
So you also mentioned that you tried raw food as an experiment. And what are the results of it? Did you see any health benefits? Anything change?
There's a couple of things that changed. The first thing that I noticed was just feeling lighter. I used to have trouble at work, almost falling asleep after lunch. Yeah, because I'm sitting at the computer, not much exercise, but just very gentle exercise. And so it was like this very classical, like, Suppenkoma in Germany, we say soup coma. But that was just gone, and I could. I was more happy as well, especially the first couple of months, when I was very much focusing on fruit only, and it was it was like ever so often I would notice small things that went better. My sleep would improve, my skin would improve. Suddenly I would notice, oh wait a minute, my skin yesterday looked like I would have a big sunburn, but today it's already gone again. You know, like what happened? Or going to the optician and noticing for the first time in my life that my glasses actually got weaker instead of stronger. So I was like, that's cool. Running with small kids, noticing that I could actually exercise more without getting out of breath. Those kind of things, yeah. And now I really appreciate that I simply have more desire to do exercise. I'm quite a lazy person. That's why I became an engineer, because I like to think twice before I do something. But now I actually have more desire to do exercise. I started now with running a little bit more seriously and with weightlifting. And it's more fun because the recovery times are just much shorter and more enjoyable. And so it's interesting to see what will happen. I'm as I say, I'm not the classical kind of sports athlete kind of person that just desires to move all the time. But I like to make friends with people like that now, which is a big difference for me. I have a good work colleague that always pushes me a little bit. He's a very avid runner. He runs every day at least like 5-6 kilometers. And sometimes 3 times that. And sometimes a lot more than that. But yeah, step by step, I'm also getting more exercise in my life. And that's one of the biggest things for sure.
I believe we don't have to exercise all the time, you know. Just going up and down like here, it's enough.
Yeah.
We don't have to bodybuild.
No. We don't have to bodybuild. We don't have to join the Olympic team or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just walking up and down this mountain, like Helda a couple of times, you definitely have done enough for your legs. So, and maybe carrying some stuff, so you've also done something for your arms as well. So we don't have to be like sports athletes to be healthy.
Regarding eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, I don't know if you skip meals. What's more enjoyable for you, to make recipes or just to pick the fruit and eat it?
Yes.
Yes for both?
Yeah, I mean, time and place. There are some days. Not that long ago, actually, I found some really good those yellow honey mangoes at my favorite Turkish dealer, and they were fairly cheap, and so I bought a lot of them. I think I bought 20 or so. And so for 2 days in a row, I would just have melons for breakfast and for lunch, and then have a salad in the evening. I usually prefer to actually make a salad rather than just eat the ingredients. Sometimes I just eat some tomatoes and some cucumbers and maybe some lettuce leaves and basically be done. But I usually like to make a sauce. Yeah, I really also quite like the tahini from Lebanon or from similar countries where they don't roast it so much, so it's like really smooth and quite mild. And I like to use that, or also just sunflower seeds or some macadamia or almond seeds.
You don't mind eating some roasted seeds?
Roasted, well, the sesame in the regular like Turkish or Arabic kind of tahinis, that is usually roasted, quite heavily roasted.
Yeah, you can smell it.
And you can smell it, you can taste it. It's got a more sharper taste. And also in the glass you can see quite a lot of oil that separates from at the top. Those are usually the 3 signs that show that the tahini has been quite roasted. But tahini from Lebanon, from Israel, and a couple of other places, they like roast the sesame, but much less. like it's almost like just a drying process that is used also for sunflower seeds or for almonds. That if we just buy almonds or sunflower seeds here, they're not completely raw. They've been dried at around 70 degrees or so. But I'm willing to go that little bit to sometimes have nuts and seeds like this in a small quantity. But yeah, sometimes I also would buy some completely raw, because you can get those. There are like websites where you can get completely raw nuts and seeds. And I sometimes do that. And of course, all of us can get avocados. Those are definitely raw. So,
Yes.
yeah, what I usually make in the evening is a salad with a sauce. Yeah.
Yeah. Sauce is not. It's not technically a recipe, you know. It's.
Oh,
When I
okay.
say about recipes, making hamburgers, pizzas, dehydrated stuff.
Yeah, I have like periods of where I do more of those and periods where I do less of those. Mostly in the winter time, when I don't have access to so much variety of fruit, I sometimes get bored, especially around like February, March or so. Before is usually always something interesting going on, but like February, March, April, those are the hard months for me in Germany and in Austria. So that's when I would play around more with my dehydrator, make more crackers, at least to have some crackers with my salad, or some burgers with the salad, or like just like the burger material, but little balls that are easier to dry, simpler to dry in the dehydrator. That kind of stuff. Yes, I've also done pizzas before, and a couple of other things that I play around with. I really like also in the winter time to play around with apples. Take an apple and you core it, so make a hole, freeze it, and then put it out and put it in the dehydrator. Then it collapses a little bit, just like a cooked apple.
Yes.
And when you eat it straight from the dehydrator, warm, oh, it's so nice.
Freezing food is one way to eat raw food that looks like and it feels like cooked food. You know.
That's true. It really helps also with those vegetables that are like a little bit hard.
Yeah, cauliflower.
Cauliflower and broccoli and some kind of cabbages. You can soften them by freezing and thawing. Yeah, even peas sometimes. Like if you get the sweet peas. Yeah, you can do a couple of interesting. Also it's almost endless, limitless, the kind of stuff you can make with a dehydrator.
With it and a blender.
And the blender, yeah. So dehydrator and blender, those are the most important, especially the blender, most important things.
So after all these years, with all the challenges that are getting less and less, you know,
Yeah.
what keeps you motivated? Is it new recipes to find, to try, new friends to meet, more festivals, health, the lifestyle?
Yes.
Yes, right.
But also, I mean, before we were asking, what our favorite fruit right now is in season. And to be quite honest, I don't get tired of figs. I just don't. I mean, yeah, you're full for a moment, but then the next day, oh, figs again,
Yeah.
So, and then even if it's like the end of season and we get winter and a couple of other things and so on, and then when the next year comes, oh, figs are ripe, So that doesn't get boring. And then the other thing is also that it's also really cool to then, explore and taste fruits that I've never tasted before. Like tasting fresh mulberries. I definitely remember tasting fresh mulberries the first time. I was like, oh, this is nice. Or also, like a couple of weeks ago, my mom and me, we were in Thailand making the kitchen for a raw food event. We were honored to be invited to do the kitchen. That was fun. And we tasted a couple of things for the first time, you know. I mean, there's even fruit that tastes like blue cheese, you know. I mean,
Blue cheese.
blue cheese, yeah, and smells like strong blue cheese. Ask Gloria, she knows.
It smells like blue cheese, but it tastes disgusting.
Durian? Is it durian?
No, it's noni.
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 Noni,
But some
yeah.
people love it.
Noni, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
In small quantities, I actually like it, but the smell is hard to get used to. But it does taste like blue cheese, like if you have like a pizza quattro formaggi, like in old days, you know, where they have also part with the blue cheese. That's what it reminds me of. It's so funny. So that keeps me also interested. What also keeps me interested is that I discover new varieties. You know, like my fruit dealer would give me some red kiwi, and I'm like, red kiwi? I mean, what is red kiwi? And then I tasted it, and it's like, wow, this is really good. And then, okay, so I know now 3 different kinds of kiwis: green, yellow, and red. And then on the way back from Thailand, my mother and me, we were in a little shop to buy some fruits for the flight, and we found some nice red kiwi, and we got those. And it turned out that they're not red, they're ruby red kiwis, which is different again. So it's not just the red corona in the middle, like a yellow kiwi with the red corona, but actually the whole fruit flesh is also red. And it was like, wow. And it also tasted a little bit even sweeter and less acidic than the red kiwi, which is already less acidic than the yellow kiwi. So I was like, this is cool. So I like that. I'm also the type of person, I like to pioneer stuff, especially when it's high quality, good stuff. So I'm the funny guy riding the cargo bike, you know, bringing the fruit boxes home with the bicycle. At least sometimes. I'm also the guy who now bought a second bicycle that's completely aerodynamic. You know, it's a completely different topic, but it's different. I like it because it's cool. It goes faster than an e-bike, but has no electricity. You know, that kind of stuff. I like to be a little bit innovative like this. So this lifestyle definitely suits me. But then the other thing is also when I see my mother basically starting to do more and more exercise and basically getting also fitter while getting older, I'm very much inspired to follow that example. Also in the different festivals. For example, also in Thailand, there was this one lady. She comes from China. She is now 72, and she is more fit than I am. And that inspires me, you know. She's been raw for 20 years, and she does a lot of exercise, quite obviously. But that's the kind of stuff that keeps me going. Where I say, it's not just about doing something to feel okay, you know, to not have any symptoms, to not get sick or whatever.
Which is already good.
Which is already a big enough motivation to keep doing it. But for me, the main point is that a healthy lifestyle like this, like a really healthy lifestyle like this, is the basis where my life gets better, not worse, or where I just keep the status quo, where I can actually improve stuff over time. Yes, most of these things, they don't happen overnight, they take years, but I'm on the way, you know, and that's what keeps me going.
Great. Thank you for sharing your story. I think we can open for questions.
You have some questions for Raphael. Vocês têm perguntas ao Raphael?
Don't be shy.
I talk too much already.
Hast du alles gesagt?
I said everything, okay.
Wie viel Wasser trinkst du?
How much water I drink? Yeah, when I'm thirsty I drink some water. I don't try to make a rule out of it. But I drink maybe about, like when it's hot, like here, and when I like a regular day where I'm in the office, I don't exercise that much. Maybe 1.5, maybe 2 liters in one day. It depends also a little bit on what I eat. So if I eat a lot of melons, I drink less water. If I eat more bananas, I drink a little bit more water. If I eat dates or dehydrated stuff, I drink even more water. Yeah, so if I exercise, I drink more water.
I've got a question. What do you think about dehydrated food? You know, in the raw, you know, a lot of people talk about making all these gourmet foods, which are obviously delicious. You know, they are imitations or copies of, you know, like the cooked dishes, like lasagnas or, you know, like whatever, pizza with salamis and all these things. How do you feel about the dehydrated foods? Do you think they're still good for your body or not? For our body, you know, for us.
Yeah, I mean, dehydrated foods definitely are one step further away from the original. I mean, I guess the original is just going to a tree and picking and eating. But sometimes that's not immediately possible, like in the winter, where I don't get like ideal food, so I go one step back. At the end of the day, I really think that it's a question of quality. So I still believe that if I would live in a tropical environment where there is fresh, ripe fruit available all year round, I would almost never dehydrate stuff because I would not feel the need for it. But at the same time, if there's a big party and I want to make something special for me or for somebody else or for somebody who has never tasted raw food before to taste something special, then for sure. And it's, you know, compared, like if we compare the burger that we had today with a burger from McDonald's or with like a high quality burger from another like something, then already this is much more healthy than that. And so it is already, in quality wise compared to that, a lot more healthy. Compared to just eating a ripe papaya, it's less healthy. Yes, that's true. But it is a small step that I'm willing to do sometimes to eat that. Just like with maybe some, you know, if I buy sunflower seeds from a regular shop, it costs maybe 1/5 or something like this than truly raw food quality sunflower seeds that I buy online somewhere. And I'm happy to go that small step down on my quality because I use a small quantity, yeah. And I don't use it every day. So I would agree, dehydrated food, so dehydration, lots of ingredients, yeah, condiments also, like if you use chili or you know, stuff that irritates the mucus linings a little bit more. Those kind of things, I like to add them sometimes because also I grew up with fancy food, I guess. But if I make food for just myself, over the years I've seen that more and more my food gets more simple. And also the more I learned about getting quality fruit, the easier it is for me to get high quality fruit and ripe fruit, the less desire I have for making fancy stuff.
But do you feel that people who eat mainly dehydrated food, which I understand there are quite a few people out there, like raw vegans that eat mainly dehydrated food, they can achieve like good health or not?
Well, I guess we would then have to ask, okay, how do we define good health? Who gets to measure and all those kind of things? But I would agree that the higher quality food is definitely fruits and vegetables in their raw state. Yes. And even then we could make differences between raw fruit that is, that comes from a soil that almost has no quality in it and maybe is unripe and maybe has been transported a long distance, and a fruit that is, so there is always distinctions in quality in everything that we do. And I think one of the important things about a healthy lifestyle is to try to strive for better quality. Like maybe once in 5 years, I don't know when, like in Thailand, we went to this raw vegan restaurant, and they made some fancy food for us, which was quite enjoyable to try. But I would do that maybe, sometimes. But if I would do that every day, then compared to what I do now, I would lower the quality of my food. That is for sure.
Ok, meus amigos, muito obrigado.
Thank you.
Thank you.